Okay, so let's start with opening statements. Mayor Farrell.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for being our MC this evening and our host, moderator. It's great to see everybody. I'm Jim Farrell, and the mayor. It is really great to see this turnout, and there are a lot of things happening in a city of 100,000 people. Yes, we have crossed over the threshold of 100,000, and we are really doing some amazing things in this city, whether it's adding a record number of officers, making sure that we've got our handle on crime and reducing those numbers, bringing in business. But the heart of our community is the arts community, and I think that is represented here today. And so, it's my honor to be your mayor. I think there's a lot of great initiatives that are going on. This community invested and built a performing arts and event center that we absolutely love, and that's one of the locations, but there's many others. It's my honor to be your mayor. I look forward to working hopefully for the next 4 years, but also to focus on the things that really matter in our community, and that means bringing life to our community, which means the art, which I'm committed to. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Honda. I'm running for mayor of Federal Way. I was honored to serve on the Arts Commission for 6 years. 3 of those years I was chair, and the Diversity Commission for 3 years, and 1 year I was chair. I'd like to thank you for providing this opportunity so that we can share our vision for the art, culture, and heritage in Federal Way. Arts provide many benefits to the city and community. They provide for a healthy community, provide for economic stimulus, provide for all levels of employment. Companies may be more interested in a city that supports the arts. Arts can attract tourists. Think of the Bonsai Museum and the Rhododendron Garden. Exposure to the arts improves mental health and well-being. And schools with robust art programs can have higher test scores, which I know that to be true. Our daughter went to Tacoma School of the Arts, and they had amazing test scores. Arts and culture are the heartbeat of the community. They connect us to our history, celebrate our diversity, and inspire the next generation. Thanks for being here tonight.
Well, my name is Martin Moore, and I'm excited to be running for City Council for position 2. I also want to thank my opponent, Nathan, for being here and joining part of this conversation. I'm excited about this topic. This is what builds up a community. In times of difficultness, arts is what brings people together. It's what makes the quality of life strong, and it's what unites people. And as long as I'm a city council member, and hopefully with your vote, I'm going to do everything we can to continue to uplift our community through arts and ensure that we create opportunities for everybody to ensure that everybody has a connection to our history, to our culture, to our arts. This is what makes a community incredibly strong, and I want to be a part of that as long as I'm your city council member. I look forward to answering more questions, and with that, I have 9 seconds left. I'm going to give the mic away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan North. I'm a born and raised Washingtonian. Moved around quite a bit because my dad was in the military. 8 years ago, my wife and I settled here in Federal Way. We found a house that we could afford. I could rant for hours about housing, but I won't because that's not what this particular forum is about. I will say for the last 15 years, my full-time job, my real job, is working for artists. I work for a company called Penny Arcade. It just seems to me that what art needs is support, not dictation from the city. So I'm here to try and encourage the city to support the Art Commission rather than try and give them anything in particular to do. So, thank you.
Hello and good evening. My name is Tammy Ziak, and I'm running for Federal Way City Council position number 4. This is my first attempt at public office. I've been a citizen or a community member for almost 38 years here in Federal Way, and I've seen a lot happening and seen a lot of growth potential I do see a lot of growth potential for the city, and I really do believe the arts is so important to the community. It, like the saying goes, what music soothes the savage beast, but there's so much more to it, and how the arts can not only be something that is beneficial to the community because of economic growth and helping small businesses. I'm a small business owner, and I certainly would like some help with that. But so many different aspects, and I really believe that without the arts, Federal Way would not be as great a place. We want to enhance those the arts that we have, so we bring more people to our community.
Well, good evening, and thank you to the organizers for hosting this forum. My name is Melissa Hamilton, and I'm running for Federal Way City Council to keep our city centered on opportunity by ensuring safe neighborhoods, thriving local businesses, and a strong sense of community. A little bit about me: music and the arts have always been a big part of my life. I play piano, I sang as a second soprano in my high school choir. Those experiences shaped who I am and taught me the value of creativity, collaboration, and artistic expression. Arts and culture aren't just about performance, though. They bring people together and they strengthen communities. They can even intersect with public safety, believe it or not. I think about the Painted Kindness Rock trend. This artistic movement kept our parks and our trails busy, with neighbors out walking every day, which in turn made those spaces safer. So I love it when the arts and public safety collide. That is a beautiful intersection to me. That's the kind of vision I want to bring to our city council, building a community where public safety, culture, and opportunity all go hand in hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all being here. My name is Jack Dovey, and we're talking about the arts, and you can see just from the audience the diversity of people that arts brings together. I'm running for council position number 6 for re-election. I've lived in Federal Way since 1968, and I still have the very first pottery pot I did at Lakota with my art project. And I believe that arts is very crucial to our community. It brings together the diverseness of our city, it brings together economics, it brings together the livability, and it brings the volunteers together. If you look at our volunteer base, most of the volunteers come from the arts community, which is very, very important to our city to have people engaged so we can grow and be a place that we want to live and raise our families. Like I say, I've been here since 1968. I raised my family here, and this is the place that I want to continue to live and support Federal Way to be an economic place that people want to be at.
Good evening. My name is Les Sessoms, and I'm honored to be here tonight with the League of Women Voters as a candidate for Federal Way City Council, position 6. As a longtime resident, husband, father, community member, and would-be bass player, I believe one of the greatest strengths is the rich cultural diversity of Federal Way. It's reflected in our neighbors, our traditions, and our stories. That's why I'm deeply committed to supporting and expanding the arts, culture, and heritage programs that the city sponsors. These programs don't just entertain, they educate, connect, and celebrate who we are. I believe that it's the responsibility of our city to protect, promote, and expand them, ensuring that every voice and every culture has a place in our shared heritage. Together we can build a Federal Way that honors our diversity and invests in the creativity that makes our community thrive. Thank you.
Okay, question number 1, and we'll start with Ms. Honda. What do you feel the role of city government should be in supporting arts, culture, and heritage?
So I think the role of city government in supporting arts, culture, and heritage is to support those things, not only with funding, but with providing space for them to either practice in or perform in, or to have their meetings in. As arts they make up a community, and they bring people together, and they can bring all sorts of people together. And if we, as a city, can support the arts the way that we envision our city, then we will be far, far ahead. I know that there's concern that we don't support the arts as much as other cities, and I think we need to look at that. Because without arts, our city would just be not as exciting, and it wouldn't draw people as much as it can. So we need to support the arts in every way we can. Thank you.
Obviously, in my personal opinion, I think it is our job as policymakers to support the arts and promote it. Because it's our job to build a quality of life for our residents, tourists, businesses. That's our job. And in saying that, as a policymaker, my priority is going to be to listen, to partner, to fight, to advocate, find solutions to make our arts come to life. When I failed to mention earlier that I used to be in the city council, and from 2013 to 2021, and when there was challenges with Center Stage, a former colleague of mine and I, we came together with Center Stage, and we advocated and pushed, and we got a good solution by working together with all parties to make that possible. I think that's our role, that's our job, and that's what I'm going to be doing as a council member, is to listen, partner, advocate, and make things happen.
So this might be a bit derivative, but I believe the city council's job when it comes to the Arts Commission is to support them and provide any support that is necessary, right? So I see this banner over here about empty seats for the symphony. Is the city helping fill the seats by helping promote it all? I haven't seen it, I don't know, but it seems like that's the sort of thing where we could step in, and I know I've seen on Pack Highway before the 4th of July Festival, there's a big traffic sign that says, hey, come to this festival. Could we do something like that for the symphony at relatively low cost because it seems like the equipment already exists? Yeah, that's. It seems like a simple solution, and it's stuff like that, just like simple support, make sure that the funding mechanisms that are in place are followed, that kind of stuff. So, thank you.
I believe the city's responsible. It's not a responsibility just to support. It's what the city has to do. So let's go back to the responsibility of the city to provide to the needs of its community members, the people who live in Federal Way, and that is making sure all of our needs are being met. And through the arts, some of those needs can be met. We need to be not only promoting it through signs on the street, but city council members and city people have to be out there sharing the message. Are you going? I'm going. And showing up for the events as well, and staying during the events, and showing how we do support them and believe in them and promote them every time something comes up and every time it's done, telling people how wonderful it was or what they missed. So again, it's our responsibility to meet all the needs of the citizens of Federal Way, and that is by supporting the arts.
Well, the arts and our cultural heritage is really what makes Federal Way unique. We're like the 5th most diverse city in the nation, is what I keep hearing. And so that's something to celebrate. I believe that the city's role is to create the conditions where arts can thrive. And so what that looks like is supporting our partnerships, supporting our community groups, keeping our public spaces safe and welcoming so that people want to come and see our art, making sure that our local economy is strong so that we can sustain these programs and so that people are able to invest in the arts that we have. What's really important to remember, though, is that when families feel safe and the cost of living is affordable, people are more likely and they're more able to engage with investing in the arts.
The question of arts and balancing the arts needs and the other community needs is what the council really needs to work on. We have to have a funding base that can be consistent, that people can count on, but we also have to balance that between all the other things that are being done in the city, which aren't as fun to talk about, like overlaying roads. But we need to have a way to have a base funding and then encourage the groups with our support with the PAC and being able to use the places without having to pay enormous fees. And then the last thing we need to do is have opportunities that groups can be part of where they can generate revenue to go back to the organizations. And it's a competition between all the needs of the city, and we can't let arts become the last part of that competition. They have to be on an equal playing field with everybody else, so everybody gets their fair share of the budget of the city and can thrive in our city.
So over the past 25 years, I don't know about you, but I really enjoy the 4th of July Festival at Celebration Park. I've taken my family there many, many times. It's just one example of several events that I think people or the city should have a role in funding and supporting, okay? I believe that our city government should be responsible for providing the funding and the infrastructure support. That means public safety. That means having police there to ensure that people are enjoying themselves in a safe manner. not just at the 4th of July festival, but events in the park, openings. I also believe that the city should provide, as a linchpin, it should provide support by promoting cultural diversity and representation for our arts, culture, and heritage. And as a city council person, I would be there to amplify that.
The city needs to, as we heard, needs to make arts a priority and not wait till it's the very last thing. This isn't something that's a nice to have. As I said just recently at the Arts Gala, it's a must have. And so what that means is facilitation, working with community, making sure that it is a priority, and really showing up, whether it's making sure that it's in our weekly newsletters that goes out to thousands of people, or making sure that we advertise. One of the things I was really proud of when Center Stage had a big production that we told them we're gonna do those signs, and we put them out, and then making sure that we utilize the VMS boards. Those construction electronic reader boards, to make sure we get those out. And that's really, it's about connecting with people, whether it's digitally, whether it's signs, and getting the word out, this is a priority. And then when we come together as a council, making sure that, and as a community, that we put actions behind our intentions and in our values, and that means supporting the arts. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is, Federal Way is one of the most diverse cities in Washington. How do you see the city's role in protecting and celebrating our rich and diverse cultural heritage? And we'll start with Mr. Moore.
Right, that's a great question. I mean, that's, as an immigrant myself, as a guest teacher in a school district, I see the diversity that's in our community, quite frankly. And I hope that we can work with our arts group to make our diversity come alive. I want to work with our PAC to make sure that the shows that are coming in are reflective of our community. All of our arts and heritage should be reflective of who we are as Federal Way. And I think is really important. And the role of a council member is to promote, to advocate for that, and to encourage for that to be a priority, because that's going to be reflective of our community. You want to see that in our history, in our culture, in our performances, and whatnot. I think it's really important that we show pride in that, because that's what makes us a really strong community, a unique community, and that's one of the things I'm going to be doing is advocating, encouraging, and working together to make all that possible. Thank you.
The diversity is here, right? So we just need to make sure that we're supporting, we're bringing, we're making sure people feel invited to all of the events that already exist for the city. So the farmers market, what are we doing to make sure that the farmers market feels inclusive to folks who, maybe, what are we doing to make sure it feels inclusive, right? So we could have days dedicated at the farmers market to the different communities that are here in Federal Way. What else is the city doing that we could bring diversity into, rather than trying to make it its own thing, bring it into what the city's already doing? So that's kind of where my focus would be.
We are blessed to live in a city that has so much cultural diversity. When I was growing up, it was very rare to see anyone that was different from what I look like. And I always tell my grandchildren how lucky they are to be living in this environment where you get to know, or rather in this diverse community, you get to know how other people live or have lived. I believe that one of the things that we could do with the Arts Commission is by expanding a current ordinance to be able to allow more sculptures, murals around our city, which would make people more proud of the community they live in, bring people to us as well to look at the art. And Federal Way has so much potential. I would really like to see that expressed more in tangible artwork around the city and in the neighborhoods.
Well, thank you for that question. Like I said before, we are one of the most diverse cities in the nation, and that's what makes us unique. That's what makes us special. And within that diversity, we have a lot of shared values, though, and I value that as well. We all want safe communities. We all want beautiful communities. I hear from the public market folks that they want to put a fountain in downtown. I love that idea. I would love to name that fountain, and get community input from that. you know, we're possibly facing an economic downturn, and so we have to look at that as well. But that doesn't mean that arts and cultural heritage gets left behind. So I think what's really important to emphasize is that a healthy local economy is going to be foundational for a healthy local arts and culture programming here in Federal Way.
In order to have a diverse community where people want to live, it has to be affordable. I think the number one thing we have to do is make the housing in Federal Way more affordable so the older people, the younger people, and the middle-aged people can stay here and live here. I also think we have to be known as a safe city, so people will be here, so they'll invest in our city so we can support the arts with more revenues and more opportunities. And lastly, we got to be known as the city that you want to move to because it takes care of its people with opportunity and places to live. I think our number one thing that's affecting us long-term for everybody in this room is how affordable it's going to be to live in Federal Way and continue to live here and stay here so we can experience all the diversity, the arts, and all the different things that we want to do and we've become accustomed to living with.
How about we try to expand our ACH program so that it's more inclusive and it's sustainable for everyone to enjoy? Why can't the city establish, with the help of the 2% arts fund, or give out micro grants to groups that will enable micro projects to rotate throughout the community? I think that would be a great idea. It would pull in people who have been underrepresented in the arts community previously and bring them to the forefront so that our citizens can enjoy the arts, whether they're performing arts or visual arts. I believe that through arts, cultural, and heritage, these programs can bring people together. They can help people, or it can send a message to our communities that we want them here, we want their families to be raised here. Thank you.
We have a rich history in our community and a rich tapestry, and I think that, you know, we've got also an amazing historical society, and it's something that I have been working with, we've been working with, making sure that we're taking lots of pictures, making sure that we're showing up and making sure that we're documenting these things for the next generation. Just like in, what we have been doing here in our community. And really what I refer to as having some emotional intelligence or understanding some EQ, making sure that we have culturally competent events that occur in our community, you know, with our neighbors, whether it's the historic John Cana Park, very historic, very a pioneer that we have honored in our community with a beautiful new park. We've got Juneteenth, the annual events of the annual Juneteenth event, Pride, Taste of Federal Way. These are all about bringing people together and celebrating community. And I think that's the rich tapestry that we have in our community.
Arts bring people together and foster community engagement and dialogue. Art can promote understanding among diverse groups and serve as a platform for marginalized voices. But we need to make arts available in all the languages that are spoken in Federal Way. And we need to make it so that a family can go to an arts event, the ballet, the symphony, whatever is happening, and they can afford to go. Because that can be an issue. And as we go into our economic downturn that we're in, and it could get worse, we need to make arts available for the families and the people who live here in Federal Way. The seniors, families, young people, arts need to be available for them.
Okay, our next question is, please outline your plans for restoring, supporting, and expanding the city's arts, cultural, and heritage programs on city properties during your next term. What do you see are the specific needs, areas for growth, and threats that need mitigating? And we will start with Mr. Orth.
Thank you. So, doing a little bit of research, it seems like the city put in place an ordinance to fund at 2% of any city construction that happens into the art fund for the art commission to do what they need to make sure that there's art in those buildings or in other places near them. And the city seemed to not follow that 2% that it set itself to with this new maintenance facility that's being built. I mean, it's a $53 million facility, and at the end of the day, the Arts Commission is getting $200,000. That's not 2% of 53 million last time I checked. So I know that there's some fancy math that went into it, and we're calling a security wall artistic or something, but like that's a security wall. So I don't think that the Arts Commission would have put that in place if they had not been overruled. And I think that we need a city council that is willing to fight back.
As I understand it right now, we need to make sure that the funds that are allocated for the Arts Commission are used for the artists and local artists, and allowing those funds to be preserved so that we can create careers or support creative careers for people that want to be in the arts. That is the biggest thing, is making sure that the arts get the art money. So often right now, some of the money is going towards, as you had mentioned, the construction, and that really limits our ability to grow in the community, the arts community. So what I would do is make sure that we're allocating the funds appropriately and increasing them. And I know that we could find a way to do that, and we will do that if I'm elected.
I think the best way that we can protect the arts is to protect fiscal responsibility at the city level. It's been said we're very likely heading towards an economic downturn, and so when that happens, budgets get tight. And what we really need to focus on is the downtown development. That has to be successful, because light rail is going to bring thousands of people to our city. We need a beautiful city. We need a beautiful downtown so that people want to come and visit. So my focus will be on making sure that our downtown is successful, that we have a robust economy, and that we can create opportunities, economic opportunities for the arts programs to be sustained, because these are very valuable programs. They're not extras. We want these here. The 2% for the public art in public places on the capital projects has been mentioned. I'm not going to go into that because I'm out of time, and I think that might be another question.
Well, there's 4 things I would do. The first thing was I would look at the 2% document that was written in June 28th, 1994. It's outdated and needs to be updated. The next thing I would look at is, I can't remember the date, but Ron Gintz put together a program that gave $40,000 a year to the arts. I go back and look at that so we're actually budgeting correctly and not using the old history that we've done in the past. The 2% for the arts needs to be changed so it can be universally used instead of only at one spot. And it outlines $25,000 as the base rate. So that needs to be reworked so we have a working document that's living and it actually can be used and people can move the money around. And lastly, we need to calculate how many dollars the city is actually giving to the arts and everybody else when we let them use the facility at no charge for the resident artists, or when we bring in programs and have reduced fees. Because all those have to be calculated together to figure out exactly what the subsidy is, how it's being set up, and then we need to move on from there and then build on our basis. As we've heard, make sure our city continues to grow so we can support the dollars.
First of all, I would build on Ordinance 94-217, the Art in Public Places Ordinance, by expanding the 2% for arts requirement to apply to more types of capital projects. That would include city buildings, infrastructure, and parks. I would also modify that ordinance. This is probably another question, but I would modify to make sure that our tradesmen, our union members are taken care of with the prevailing wage. When those capital projects are built, that our tradesmen, our tradespeople are paid a fair wage. I would also consider a modest percentage contribution from qualifying private development. I think that ensures that the city grows physically, its art presence grows as well. The funding rises automatically with development aligning with cultural investment along with our growing population. Thank you.
All right, I just want to start by saying we fully follow the letter of the law with regard to the 2%. I confirm that with our Public Works Director and with our City Attorney today. I reviewed all the material. We have fully complied with the law. So I just want to make sure that's out there. Now, whether you want to make changes to that, that's another matter, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, in a later question. But regard with the commitment is making sure that we've got the space for events, that we've got good and meaningful agreements with the arts and the performers, with the arts groups and the performers, to make sure that they can do their events, they can have access to the facilities for rehearsals, and have meaningful opportunity to make sure that they are fully involved and be able to make sure they're delivering a great product for our community, for the arts. But I think those are the main things, is making sure that we're facilitating with the arts groups and making sure that we've got meaningful relationships.
To bring more money into our community, we need to have more art events. So as a city and as a member of the city council, we need to look at our budget, and we look at our budget every month at the FedRAC meeting, and we need to assess how much money we give to the art groups, how much money they need to do what they want to do and what they can successfully do in Federal Way, and find a way to increase the funding that we have for the arts groups in Federal Way. Because once they can do more, maybe put on more symphonies, more concerts, more money can come into the city, and that improves the environment for everybody.
Yeah, it's an issue that I've been hearing, and as a policymaker, our job is to listen to the concerns, the issues that are at stake. In this case, the question pops up: are we meeting the 2% standard that's set by the ordinance that was mentioned earlier? And I think one of the things that I would want to do is inquire: are we meeting that within City Hall, and monitor that? And I think we need to find tools that helps us identify if we've met the 2% expectation or not. I agree with some of my colleagues here that maybe we do need to relook at that policy. Maybe we need to modify it because times have changed since 1994. But obviously, arts has to be a priority. And it's something that we have to stay focused on because it can be the engine to so many things. But the catch is we've got to monitor and make sure that that's being followed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next question. And the first responder will be Ms. Ziak. Okay, relative to other cities in our region of similar size, Federal Way spends less per capita on arts, culture, and heritage. The Arts Commission budget for awarding arts, culture, and heritage grants has not materially increased since the city's inception in 1990. Would you increase the city's budget for arts, culture, and heritage to align with the growth of our city and the increasing need for access to art and culture?
Absolutely. We can't live on yesterday's budget and expect to be able to pay the bills today. I mean, we have to, just like you get a minimum wage increase, we have to look at what the costs are now and what the reality is of being able to produce what we want to produce to attract people to our events. So it's vital that we really look at how we're funding. I would also, and this is probably not very popular, but I do not understand why, as tax-paying people, built the PAC, yet the people to provide the entertainment to go to the PAC are charged to perform at the PAC. That doesn't make sense to me. I'd like to reevaluate why we're having to pay to perform at the PAC. I understand the PAC needs to make money, but there has to be a way, and I haven't been on the city council, I haven't looked at the books, but I'd like to, and I'd like to be able to understand what's going on, because I really do feel in my heart, I know there is a better way to do this. So yes, I would increase the budget a lot.
So I do hear that it's true that compared to some other cities, Federal Way spends less per capita on arts and culture. We're also a very unique city though, and the real question to me is, how do we make sure every family has access to the opportunities that we do have, especially in a city as diverse as ours? One thing that's unique about our city that we need to look at holistically is that we have a higher poverty rate than other surrounding cities. So we have to take that into consideration. What I really, really want to emphasize is that access doesn't always come from writing bigger checks. We have to be fiscally responsible, especially in times of economic downturn. We want to keep the arts alive, and I believe the best way to do that is when we create the conditions for plenty rather than trying to ration scarcity. And so that's when families and organizations have more capacity to invest, and when I believe we can have a rich, cultural, thriving arts scene here in Federal Way.
You know, the first thing that a city council person and the city council would have to do is look at the budget and say, okay, what are we willing to cut to move money to another part of the budget? And I'm not saying we shouldn't do that, but just to say I'm gonna raise the budget, you can't do that because the budget's already been set. What has to be done is you have to look at what is the most important thing to do first, which is usually run the city, stop signs and potholes. Next, you look at how can you rearrange the budget so everybody gets their fair share to do what they need to do in this community and have a good community that everybody wants to live in and be affordable. So my answer to that question is we're coming up to our budget, our annual budget look at. We put a 2-year budget in. We need to look at our revenues, which are down, and look at our expenditures, which have been relatively flat, and figure out what we can do other than just say we're gonna write a blank check. Maybe it's giving organizations the right to use facilities without charging. Lots of different things we can do other than say I'm gonna raise the budget.
I still say, let's look at that antiquated 1994 ordinance and expand the 2% rule. But we also need to bring in public and private partnerships and sponsorships. Why? Because it leverages corporate social responsibility budgets and deepens ties between those businesses and our community. I just read in the paper that Walmart is closing one of its 2 stores. Walmart would have been a great candidate in terms of sponsoring a public art piece or event. I think we need to explore that, and if elected to the city council, I'm going to push for those types of partnerships. Thank you.
Yes, we, as Councilmember Dovey said, we are halfway through our biennial budget. We're going to be taking a look at that. And right now, the revenue is about 0.9, almost 1%, but less than a fraction of a percent down in regard to anticipated revenues. So, you know, we're in that budget. I think looking forward, I think we need to make this a priority, continue to make it a priority. But I think where we've seen a lot of movement is in working with the MOUs, the memorandums of understanding with the resident arts groups, and making sure that we are, putting in more access to facility for rehearsals, that we've increased the amount of funding. And that's actually where a lot of funding that we've been able to capture to support our arts group, and I'm very proud of that. And so I also think that we do need to keep pace with inflation and over time. And I think, we have shown our commitment to the arts by the successful completion of our beautiful Performing Arts and Event Center. And we do need to make sure that we have a balancing act in regard to getting access to that facility, but also making sure that that facility is run efficiently for the entire community.
So being an ex-member of the Arts Commission, I know how frustrating it is to look at the performing art groups and not provide the funding that they ask us for. Because every year we give grants out to the performing art groups, and every year they ask us for way more money than it is available. And it's been a problem since the city existed. But one thing we could do to ease that issue for our performing art groups is to give them space to rehearse and to perform without paying for the facility. My daughter danced with Aria Dance Company when it was here in Federal Way, and we used to perform down at Knudsen Family Theater. It was expensive because you had to then bump up your ticket prices to get people to be able to pay for the facility. And then as parents, we had to pay for the costumes and all sorts of other things. So I think if we can provide space without a cost for the groups, that'll help their budget quite a bit.
I think as a policymaker, one of the things I would ask for is to do a study session at City Council to talk about this, and that's probably been done. But as a policymaker, that's an opportunity that we still have. And I would definitely look at, again, specifically and in details what other cities are doing and compare ours to theirs. I think, you know, as I think about this question, I think about how we need to definitely do balance. We have to balance this request, but we also have to step up to the plate and say that this is a priority. The arts and culture and heritage in our community is a priority. So we need to look at, we need to put everything on the table to see how we can make sure that we can infuse more dollars into our ACH. And so I think we also need to look at, yes, to partnerships, but how can we partner up with our state to provide more funding as well? Because we have great state lawmakers that are working hard for us. And so there's a lot that we need to look at and study, and I'm gonna stop talking. Thank you.
There is that, the old, law that we've discussed a little bit with the 2% on any city capital expenses or buildings. But it seems like there's some gaps in that law, and it does need to be rewritten, because the letter of the law allowed for the city to interpret 2% of 53 million as originally 800,000, and then a huge portion of that was also pulled away to pay for a security wall that was a requirement of the original bond. And then the Arts Commission is left with 200,000, which, as I said earlier, and I'm just going to repeat myself here, it's not 2% of 53 million. So I believe the mayor when he says that the city followed the letter of the law, and that means that law needs to be updated, right? The other thing that we need to do is make sure that we are looking at it in a per capita basis, not just capital expenses. Thank you.
Okay, next question, and we will start with Ms. Hamilton. There are 4 resident artist organizations at the city's Performing Arts and Events Center. Original city agreements with these resident artists were for 7 years, and the current agreements with more favorable terms were only for 12 months, ending December of 2025. Do you support long-term contracts with the resident artist organizations, which would provide clarity and stability and support high-quality performing arts into the future?
I first want to say that I really, really value our resident artist organizations. And the work that they're doing at the PAC is valuable work. They're the folks that bring community connection to Federal Way. I haven't been a part of the contract discussions. Those are typically behind closed doors. And what I'll say is that what is important to me is that we're striking a balance between stability for our resident artists and flexibility for the city and our taxpayers. So long-term agreements can make sense if they both ensure sustainability for the organizations and accountability for the city. But at the same time, shorter renewals might provide more flexibility, the flexibility that we might need in a changing economy.
Well, first of all, we do need to do the contracts so that the groups have some security and can plan ahead. I'm not one for long-term contracts because both people usually lose. The prices go up, things change, and if you're a 7-year and you're not getting the benefit of the economy going up, you've negotiated yourself out of what it should be. So I think you need to do something like a 3-year contract with options for maybe another 3 and another 3, so you can negotiate together and make sure that the numbers are right and the subsidies are correct and somebody's not overpaying and somebody's not underpaying. It's got to be fair for everybody in the city, and it's got to be fair for the groups. It's got to be fair for the other people that are in our budget that we're not even talking about, human services, and for police and the courts. So it's a big ecosystem. And so you want stability so you know what you're going to pay, but you want the ability to negotiate and change. So I don't know if 7 years is the right number. I'd probably go 3, 3, and 3.
I'm probably going to have to say that I believe that there should be a happy medium. In fact, I know I'm going to say that. 1 year is too short, 7 years is too long. So as my opponent has suggested, 3, 3, and 3. I believe that taken into account the array of art groups that we have available and those that would like to be considered as residents, artists, I would say let's be fair and balance it out and make sure that everyone has an opportunity. I believe that this will contribute to people's interests. I think it will tap into our diversity. There are a lot of people who, although they may appreciate the Jet City Chorus Ensemble, they may appreciate another group the next time they visit the PAC.
Yes, I would say that 1 year is clearly not enough. I think we need to take a look at what the more reasonable thing would be, about 3 years. I think that, keep in mind, we only have a 2-year biennial budget. So I do think also you want to make sure that people don't, either the city or the groups, get locked into something that's unfavorable to them. And there are changing circumstances. That's why we have a biennial budget. And, that's over, close to about $400 million for the operating side. So you do want to have that flexibility on both sides. So I'd say 2-3 years, and making sure that we lock in the best and favorable terms, but also making sure that people can plan, that groups can plan to be able to thrive and to be able to rely with their vendors and the people that are working on them.
Thank you. So to answer the question, yes, I support long contracts, not the year contract. That just didn't make sense to me. But I would ask the performing groups what works for them. Does 2 years work? Because that would fit with our budget cycle. Does 3 years work? Does 4 years work? And then compromise with them. Because we need to be working with the groups, not dictating to the groups as to what we as a council and the mayor want to see. So I would support doing something different than we've done, not 7 years, not 1 year, but asking those groups what works for you and how can we work together to make this the best possible solution for everybody.
It is something, having not served in the city council for 4 years, you kind of tend to hear stuff. And this is a concern that I've been hearing about. I definitely believe that, obviously, I came on the city council before the PAC was built. And I came on the council because I wanted the PAC to be built. And I was told that the Performing Arts Event Center is supposed to be there for everybody. It's supposed to work for everything. Obviously, to answer the question, yes, I would support longer term contracts. And I think it is. Susan took the words out of my mouth, which is we need to listen to our stakeholders and find out we need to do a survey. And what are we hearing? What's the feedback we're hearing? And take that and try to come up with a compromise. I would definitely support a longer term, but obviously we do need to have a balanced approach to this, but absolutely at the end of the day, I would support a longer term contract. Thank you.
The short answer is yes, but the longer answer is, without having seen these contracts, it's hard to, agree to anything. We're up here on camera verbally agreeing to a contract that most of us have not seen. So 1 year is too short. That I think is a consensus that everybody has. 7 years was way too long, and we'll have to find some middle ground there, working with all of the stakeholders, which includes the groups in question, but also the citizens, to see if they're still happy with what's going on at the PAC, and make sure that they are seeing events that they want to come attend, so that we don't have to worry about whether or not there's too many empty seats and the events are too expensive and all that kind of stuff, right? Is there more that we can be doing as a council to put on events? It doesn't really feel like a city council's place to specifically, put on concerts, but I personally have gone through the calendar of the PAC several times and scrolled through and been like, what would I like to see? And then and closed it because I just couldn't find anything I wanted to attend. So.
If there's one thing that I know in my career of owning and running businesses, that through mutual consent, everybody can be happy. And I agree with Susan in that we need to sit down as a group with the artists as well as the city and say, what is it that you need? What is it that's going to help you? And what is it that we're going to need, and how can you help us? Once again, we have to mutually agree on what it is that we need to do. Definitely 1 year is not right. 3 years, I don't know. If I had to put a number, I'd say 4 years. but the security of knowing the artists have a place to go and that they know what's going to happen and can be prepared and plan for the future just in case that 4 years comes up and it's not going to be renegotiated. I also believe that we need to have a clause in that. Absolutely. What if something happens over the next few years and you're 2 or 3 years into the contract? In every legal document, there's always a clause, and I know that we could come up with that also.
Thank you. Next question, and the first responder will be Mr. Dovey. The city's Art in Public Places Ordinance 94-217 was passed in 1994, enacting that 2% of qualified construction, renovation, repair, and remodel projects over $25,000 would be set aside for art in public places, and that City Council would be advised by the Arts Commission with recommendations for how to use the funds. Has this ordinance been implemented as intended? What policies and procedures would you put in place to ensure that it is?
Well, I wasn't on the council when it was put into place. Mary Gates was the one who authored it, I believe. Her signature's on it, so we want to thank her for that, for starting the process. I do believe that the document is outdated. I don't have a problem with the 2%. I think it has to have more flexibility so it doesn't just go to one project, so you can actually use the art money and other things that the city may need. It may even need to be used to fund performances or fund groups, and not just public art and statues at a location, but something more broad than what it is today. At the time, it was the best thing that was done with the city. It was brand new, it was thought through, but we're a long time past 1994. And so we need to look at it. And it's been one of those things that I don't think anybody on the council, every time I've been on it, we've never looked at it. So that would be something we'd want to do right away after the turn of the year. And I think I'm supposed to stop, so I will.
I've mentioned that I advocate for the expansion of this ordinance 94-217, and I'm going to stick to that. I believe it needs to be expanded because it's a source of potential revenue. Whenever we build a capital project in the city, it should have certain elements built into it. Okay, and here's what I would change. Right now, it doesn't include language that is union friendly. Okay, I believe that it should include a project labor agreement or a community work agreement within it. So it does need to be updated. I believe that once we do that, whether it's a city building, infrastructure, like a street or a park, those are public works projects, and we should benefit from that in other ways. So it would ensure that the city grows physically, but also the arts community would grow as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The 2% of the arts, yes, it's been 31 years. It's absolutely essential in our community, and it's really actually has worked. Celebration Park, City Hall, Federal Way Community Center, the Performing Arts and Event Center, Town Square Park, all of those things. And now our new operations and maintenance facility. But one of the things that it made clear from day one that it did not include land acquisition, demolition of the prior area, and equipment. That's what the statute says. That's what the law has said for 31 years. Now, with regard to once you did the calculations on this building, that's what it came out to. Now, the $175,000, it was $174,998, so $2 shy of $175,000, was in addition to the $560,000 wall that was not part of the original program. There was supposed to be a fence there, but they added that to facilitate the art. And so there is a great memorandum. I would encourage anybody that you're interested in this to read the memorandum that was done by E.J. Walsh on this issue. Thank you.
Okay, great question. I've been waiting for it, and I need way more than a minute. So anyone have any questions of me afterwards, please find me, and I will talk to you. Thank you, Mary Gates, for signing this back in the day. The city needed this. We were a brand new city. We needed more public art, and this facilitated the possibility of having more public art. I do not believe that we're following the ordinance as it's stated, because I can tell you this is the ordinance. And when we do a substantial capital improvement project, which could be a remodel of any public project, including buildings, blah, 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 we're supposed to be using this this ordinance. We just we had to do a whole bunch of stuff in the community center. We haven't used this ordinance. I also am not very happy about the way that the fence came about. I've served on several public art committees for the library and for the schools and for the city. I did the community center because I was on the Arts Commission, and I do not believe that we're following the ordinance the way it was meant to be.
I think as a policymaker, one thing I'm going to be looking for is a tool that helps us as policymakers know that we have met this 2% quota or not. Because looking around, I think there's a lot of things that we're doing for the arts. For projects or construction, capital projects, I want to know, have we met it or have we not? And if we haven't, then what else do we need to do to meet that expectation? It was there in place for a reason. And, if we're going to say that this is a priority, we need to make sure that this is a priority, whether we update the ordinance or not. I'm going to be looking for a tool that tells me that, yes, we can check this off. This is how it's met the 2% quota. And I'm not questioning that we haven't. It's just we're looking for tools that are transparent to the public and to us as policymakers that says that we have met it. And I think the other thing I want to look at is do an audit
I think we've discussed it twice around the table now. The law is out of date. It just needs to be updated. Where that ends up is kind of a matter of discussion. 2% of capital expenses ends up not being that much depending on how many capital expenses you have. Kent is doing like 2% per capita or $2 per capita, so it's based on the number of people in the city. I think that might not work out the way that we wanted depending on, we've reached 100,000 people here, so $2 per capita would only be $200,000, and that ends up basically in the same place. So it's worth investigating. I think that we need to rewrite it and figure out where those gaps are, because as the mayor has said, we followed the letter of the law, and then it just didn't add up the way that the people of the city wanted to, and that's kind of the council's job, is to make sure things end up where they want. Thank you.
Now, maybe I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I don't understand why the 2% or the Arts Commission is even under Parks and Recreation. This might be a different question. I mean, arts is not a recreation. It is something more along the lines of economic development or community development. So why that money isn't going strictly towards that as opposed to other areas that are considered an art, I don't understand. And again, I'm not on the city council. I look forward to knowing and being able to be a problem solver to figure out why we can't readjust this. I'd also like to see more of the Arts Commission people involved in the decisions that are making with the money and make that much more transparent. And again, coming together with mutual agreements to make sure that everybody comes out supporting the decisions that are made and spreading the message throughout the city.
I first want to say we're talking about the 2% ordinance, and so I absolutely support the idea of art in public places. We need that. That wall that we're all talking about on 28th is in my neighborhood, you guys, so it's important to me. Whether or not the ordinance has been implemented exactly as it was intended, basically we're asking, has the city fulfilled its legal obligations? I'm not going to answer that question here because I would want to confer with our city attorney on a question like that. I understand the current situation with the wall. I do. There's something, where you look at the intent behind the law. So what's the intent behind that ordinance? That's what we really need to focus on. And there's also, the letter of the law, and then there's the spirit of the law. And so we kind of need to look at both of those, but we need to see what's the intent behind the law. How can we get art input in these capital projects? Because I think we all agree that we want that.
Okay, next question. Studies have shown that a vibrant arts, culture, and heritage scene creates a better business climate. One of the chief reasons Weyerhaeuser cited for moving to Seattle was that its arts, culture, and heritage scene was more attractive to employees. Do you agree that arts and culture are an economic driver for the city? If so, is the Arts Commission best supported under the current structure within Parks and Recreation, or perhaps it should be more visible under either the Economic Development or Community Development Department?
I think there should be a change. It should be arts and culture and heritage should be an economic driver. I used to live in Saratoga Springs years ago, back in the 90s, and every year they had the Newport Jazz Festival, AKA the Saratoga Jazz Festival, come to town every summer. People from all over the state of New York would come and enjoy a 3-day festival. I think if we were to use the PAC the way I think it can be used, that can be our foundation for a music festival. I don't care, I can't pinpoint the genre right now, but let's bring an annual music festival to Federal Way. Let's have people talking about it regionally at first, and then nationally, secondarily. I have a lot of friends all over the country, and they appreciate every time they visit the Pacific Northwest. I want them to think about Federal Way when they visit us. That's what I would do. Economic driver.
Okay, as far as where the commission, the Arts Commission, should be located, the Community Development Department doesn't make any sense. They do permitting and code compliance, and that's sort of a non sequitur. With regard to economic development and our current staff, and we've got a director and a staff person, it's a 2-person unit. I think it's actually, and we have actually looked at this, there was a request that was made previously by one of the members of the commission about moving to economic development. We looked at it. I think our Parks Department is the absolute perfect place to do it. They've got great infrastructure, great staff, great dedicated staff. They do events for a living. And we've all been to those events, whether it's movie night or whether it's all the amazing events that we have. It's the Good News crew in the Parks Department, and they've got really the human infrastructure to be able to do this, and a commitment to making sure that we have a vibrant, active community. So I say we keep it in parks. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that arts are an economic driver, and when Weyerhaeuser left, I cried. My husband's worked for them for 47 years, and anyway, he still gets to work down here, thank God. However, I would like to see the arts move to the Economic Development Department, and the reason being is I believe that with their experience and what's happening around the city, new businesses coming, businesses leaving, whatever's happening, they have some knowledge that would be beneficial to the arts groups, and I think that would work out. As to the staffing, the Senior Advisory Commission is supported by our council executive assistant, which is a 1-person department, and I help her out, but I'm not a staff member. So I think the Economic Development Department could do LTAP, which is a commission that they support, and I think they can support the Arts Commission.
I would need to know. I would need to get more information of why there is a desire to be changed or to be housed in a different section. I think I'd want to talk to our commissioners, talk to our stakeholders to learn that side. And of course, I definitely want to talk with our city officials and identify what that is, and then make a sound decision based off of what I'm hearing. I do think that arts are an economic driver. I think that's very clear. And I think, I'm really proud of the fact that it creates opportunities for everybody. So that would be my response to the question.
Arts is obviously an economic driver. I mentioned this earlier. I work for artists. I pay my mortgage because an artist sends me a check, or it gets direct deposited. Sorry. It seems like a matter of a keyword. It sounds like the mayor is correct in that it's already in the more well-funded, more well-staffed, more well-equipped department at the city. It's worth investigating whether or not it's a change that that makes sense. It sounds good, but if it's just a change of a keyword because it is an economic driver and you want to put it under the thing that says economic, I don't think that ends up working out in your favor. So with very limited knowledge, I wouldn't move it at the moment, but it's worth investigating if that's what the stakeholders are interested in doing.
Once again, I refer to my expertise in running businesses and categorizing them appropriately. I know I answered this question already, so I do believe it's an economic development thing. It's the arts that bring people from outside into us, and they're spending their dollars and increasing our city's tax, are increasing our funding. One of the things I would say is that if we're overstaffed in park and recreation, perhaps we can move them over to economic development so we can level that out or even that out so that we can have that staffing necessary. Again, it is economic. It's not a recreation. It's bringing people in so they're spending their money at the small businesses and shopping in other places as well. So my answer stands that I believe it is an economic development issue.
I think the Arts Commission and their members do a fabulous job, and I see many of my friends out in the audience who are on the Arts Commission. I'm open to a conversation about where they see themselves best. I think whether it's parks, economic development, or community development, to me, it doesn't matter as much as what the real goal is, and that is making sure that the arts are visible and thriving in Federal Way. As far as the question, is arts and culture an economic driver? Absolutely it is. I travel to see, certain arts festivals, or, my daughter is a K-pop fan. So if there's something K-pop going on in Tacoma, we'll go travel. And consequently, we'll go out to dinner afterwards. So yes, it is an economic driver.
The answer to the question as I see it, yes, arts are an economic driver. We see that in Arts Alive. We went for 3 days, had a whole bunch of people come in. But it wouldn't have happened if the Parks Department wasn't there setting it up, being part of it and making it happen. So I would not move it to economic development. They don't have the money to support it and will cost more, and therefore the budget will go down because we have to pay the money to the Parks Department to do the things that they're doing now. So it doesn't make sense to change it. But what we have to do is change our mindset. Think of the arts as a true business, which it is, that brings revenue into the city and looks for opportunities to put on more festivals like the Art for Live, puts on more gatherings like the 4th of July, and find things that the city can do to help the arts groups make more money so they can add more performances and have more people involved and be more self-sufficient and grow the business of the arts instead of just hoping that the city council funds it another $20,000 or $50,000 or whatever that number is. We have limited budgets. We need to be entrepreneurial and make the arts a real driver in our city. And I've been to Saratoga Springs. It's a great place and they do great things. And we need to do those types of things.
Okay, thank you. I am now going to move on to questions from the audience, and I think we can do perhaps 3 or 4, and I apologize if I don't ask your question, but it's moderator discretion right now. Engaging young people in the arts is a fantastic way to keep them out of trouble between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. when they are most likely to commit crimes. What ways do you envision using to draw more young people into the arts, and how can the city council, mayor, and the courts participate in arts education, its funding, and its celebration? Mr. Farrell.
Well, Center Stage has a great program that has really celebrated this as well, and I think that's a great model. There's got to be a way, maybe we can take a look at making the community center more accessible and more affordable, really engaging in the youth in a really meaningful way. Making these interesting. I think having events or making sure that we can bring young people together and making it culturally relevant, or, just relevant for them. And they'll tell you, that young people vote with their feet. They'll tell you what they're interested in and what they're not. And but making sure that we've got the capacity and the infrastructure to really reach out and welcome our youth into our spaces here, continue programs like we do at Center Stage, and model that kind of program with other arts organizations.
Well, thank you. So After-school programs is something I've been working on for a while. In National League of Cities, I'm on a committee that we work with grant funding to bring grants into cities for after-school programs. Well, our schools have, every elementary school has a daycare program after school, which is really cool. I'd like the middle schools to have a program, but right now we have the elementary schools with after-school care. And if we can get artists, maybe some of our local performing groups to go into those programs and sing with them, dance with them. Kids love to dance. Might not be ballet, but they do love to dance. Learn how to act. It would be really awesome. You've got a captive audience. They're looking for something to do, and I think it would work out really well. There's going to be a cost to it. We'll have to figure that out and not put the cost on the parents. But Holly Rose runs a children's theater company in Federal Way, and she does amazing work. So we can bring arts to the kids here.
I mean, this is why I love Federal Way. I think there's a lot of amazing programs that are happening in our community, like it's already been stated. You know, I know that I have a 4-year-old son where him and I went to the chalk art at the PAC that happened this summer. Art can be anything, and that anything needs to transcend to what our youth are interested in and really open up those doors. And yeah, we need to be innovative about funding sources, but I think the sky is the limit to a degree when it comes to what opportunities are out there. Look at what are other cities doing to open up art. You know, I get texts and emails of, wouldn't this be cool? Wouldn't that be neat? And I think really art and culture and our heritage can be celebrated in almost any way, and we need to open that up with our youth in any sort of way and meet them where they're at as well. So that, I mean, that's worth a huge conversation that I think is uplifting that we need now more than ever. So I think there's plenty of opportunities. It's just a matter of coming together and making it happen. Thank you.
So if it's a matter of what are we doing to make sure that there are activities for kids to do after school between the hours of 3 to 6, I would say that we need more to do in the downtown core, right where the light rail station is going to be opening up soon, and it's kind of there's a couple restaurants. Obviously the mall is there, but if you've walked through it recently, it can be very dead. I think there's a new arcade. I, as a video game guy, have not bothered, so I'm sure that it's nice, but we just need more activities. You know, we pulled out this, what was it, laser tag to put in the light rail station. I didn't get a chance to visit it before it got torn down. I'd love to see something like that pop up again, and that's not necessarily the city council's responsibility, but what can we do to help support it? Like, my kid just signed up for a coding camp, and we have to drive 30 minutes away for this coding camp. And it seems like that kind of thing, not necessarily the city council's job, but what can we do to support that kind of thing popping up here in the city? Thank you.
Young people have been a passion of mine for a great long time. My home used to be the gathering place for all the teenage boys that came and ate everything in my house. But they would also talk about what they wanted to see in Federal Way, or why there was that there was nothing to do. And for a long time, I've always thought that what if we had community-based youth centers where they could get involved in some of the arts, and whether it's in the schools or whatever, because transportation is a problem. Great, it's good to say, oh, we have a youth center up there, but how are they going to get there if they don't drive? And so they are a lot more interested in listening to these guys. They're interested in art, music, and writing, and acting, and painting. And oh, what a mess my family room was, but it was great. And so I feel like I have a special connection with the youth, and I really know that we could bring them closer to the arts if they had more opportunity to get to it, and more locally, and then be supported by their peer group also.
There was a lot of questions in that question, so I'll try to address them. First, I just want to say a strong economy equals a strong arts scene. So we all know that, unfortunately, when schools are getting tight, having tight budgets, arts are sometimes the first thing to go, and that's really unfortunate to me, because I really believe that music and art, it uses a different part of your brain, right? And kids' brains are developing, and they need that. So partnering with their schools to make sure that they have what they need. The part about crime, it was interesting to me. So part of what I did when I worked in law enforcement was I would take juveniles around, And when they were fulfilling their community service hours, and they would have to remove graffiti. And so that taught them what appropriate art was and what inappropriate art was. So we have a judge race coming up, and I would love to have a discussion with whoever wins that election to see how we can implement, getting these juveniles on the right track.
I'm not one that likes to talk about things. I like to get things done. So what I would do is I'd go to the school district today, because every Friday at noon, every student gets out in the high school. I'd put a program in the school in partnership with the city and try it out. See if students would come to an art class on a Friday in a Federal Way public school, because they have no place to go right now, to a home that's maybe nobody's there. You see them go to the bus stop. Where are they going? There's no place to hang out. So we could do it just like we did with the financial freedom class we did in Federal Way. We started it. We've had 170 people graduate, and we should do the same thing with the school. If the arts, we want to do it, go to the school. Let's use the schools that are open, because they're not there. They're going home. Put a program in, try it out, and see if it works.
Let's bring in some public and private partnerships and get an arts mentoring organization started, or multiple ones. They can go out, the mentors, the artists who are mentors can provide mentorship to young people that would enable them to paint murals around our city, beautiful murals like they have in Washington, D.C. They could start a music school or a music program, whether it's after school or a late night program that not only teaches them various sports, but at a late night program, they could also have art programs as well. I appreciate the fact that they have digital art nowadays and graphic design. They can make a lot of beautiful art that can be installed around the city on abandoned buildings. Thank you.
Okay, our time is just about up. It is 7:27. So unfortunately, we do not have time for more audience questions. So we're going to start with closing statements, and I'd like to start at the other end of the table and go in reverse order for closing statements.
Again, my name is Les Sessoms, candidate for Federal Way City Council Position 6. I would appreciate your support and your vote, because I believe in a strong community. I love Federal Way. I believe that this is a city that is destined for greatness. We're not quite there yet, but I believe instead of looking at the negative, we can build upon the positive. We have the community, we have the energy, we have the people. I've raised my family here for the past 25 years, going on 25 years, and my wife and I are the proud parents of 3 Decatur High School graduates who went on to Washington State University. Go Cougs. I would appreciate your support come November 4th.
Well, again, my name is Jack Dovey, and I'm running for re-election for the City Council position number 6. Why am I running? I have the experience to continue on a path that's been fiscally planned out, and I've been in business a very long time, so I think differently along business decisions. And I've been through the rough times in the city when we had to lay people off, and I've been in the good times when we had money to do a lot of expansion. Again, I'm running basically because I'm trying to build affordable housing in Federal Way so our citizens can stay here, buy a house in the $300,000 range so we can keep things going. I'm working with churches right now and with funding sources to make it happen and have support of the council. Again, I'm running so I can continue to represent our city, continue to help us grow strong, and continue to make this a place that we all want to live at. I've been here since 1968, and I like living here. My family was raised here, and I was the first graduating class of Decatur.
I don't know if I can compete with that. Well, my name is Melissa Hamilton again. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and to all of our partner organizations here for hosting this forum. Tonight's conversation has really been more about just the arts. It's been about what kind of city do we want to build for our residents? What kind of city do we want to build together? Federal Way is one of the most diverse communities in the nation. And our arts and our cultural heritage reflect that richness. I've seen firsthand how music and arts has affected my life deeply, and I want to give young people in particular a place to belong, to grow, and to dream big. What we know is that the arts don't exist in isolation. They flourish when our neighborhoods are safe, when housing is affordable, and when our economy is strong. That's the kind of balanced leadership I want to bring to this city council. Leadership that can support the arts while also making sure that our city functions at its highest potential. My campaign is about building our community together. So let's make Federal Way a place where businesses, the arts, residents can all thrive side by side. Vote Melissa Hamilton this November.
Hi, I'm Tammy Ziak. I'm running for Federal Way City Council position number 4. I'm running because I want to see safer neighborhoods. I would like to see housing problems resolve that. I would also like to see a greater push for economic development. These all kind of go hand in hand. If we can take care of the problems with the safer streets and get people housed, then we can have businesses that want to come and be here and stay here and not close up shop to where we have a bunch of open buildings or empty buildings up and down our streets. I'm a board member of the Center Stage. I wanted to point that out, and we have a wonderful play going on right now. Anyway, back to that. I have not run for city council or any other position before. I was actually a president of the PTA for Decatur, so it's a Decatur board up here. But I believe that I do. I have fresh ideas, and I have great ideas, and I'm a proven problem solver. The companies I've worked for, well, I'll tell you some other day.
Just to repeat, my name is Nathan North. I moved to Federal Way here 8 years ago. I'm running for City Council position number 2. I believe that I have some unique experience that could help grow the city. Don't have enough time to get fully into it, but please grab one of my cards on the way out and check out my website. I am an operations manager, which means that it's my job to get things done. So it's what I do right now, and it's what I hope that you will elect me to do for you in the future.
Well, thank you so much for making the choice to be here. I am Martin Moore, running for City Council here in Federal Way, in case you didn't know, position 2. And you know, I love this community. This is the community that I grew up in. This is the community I learned how to speak English. This is the community where I graduated from Decatur High School, class of 03. And I have a family here. And we love our programs right here in Federal Way. And I want to create a thriving community. I want to advocate, I want to listen, and I want to work hard on your behalf to build, again, a thriving community where all of us can thrive in. And I think with my leadership, I have a great record from the 8 years that I got to serve on the City Council. And I think, you know, I want to come back to the City Council because I want to fight. I want to advocate, and I want to push for, in this case, our arts, our history, and our culture, because that's what's going to make us a stronger community together. And I think we really need to do that. And I ask for your vote this coming November 4th. And go to my website if you don't know who I am, electmartin.com. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, thank you all to being here and for the sponsors who put this on. And before I forget, the Historical Society of Federal Way needs your membership. So please, it's inexpensive. You can support the history. They're the ones saving our history here in Federal Way. Federal Way is home to incredible artists, rich cultural traditions, and a proud heritage. The arts should not be used as political talking points. They should be a source of pride, of unity, and of opportunity. As your mayor, I will make sure our city honors its history, supports its artists, and invests responsibly in programs that strengthen our community. Together, we can build a city where arts don't just survive, but where they thrive. I ask for your support. Vote Honda for mayor in November. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Jim Farrell, mayor, running for re-election. You know, actually, our one and only son, Benjamin, just graduated this year from Decatur High School. Unless he's also at WSU. So we're trying not to call him as much. So I want to say thank you so much for being here tonight. This is really about a community. It's so great to see this kind of turnout. You know, as I said when I first started talking, tonight, you know, the arts are the heart of a community. You've shown your heart tonight. We see it in the performances. And it's also about showing up and making sure that it's a priority. You know, one of the things I said, and I'll just repeat it again, is that, you know, it's not something you like to have, it's a must have. And it's something we need to continue to invest in, and really it brings us together as a community. And it's beautiful when you see, you know, a turnout like this, or a turnout at the PAC, or at Center Stage, or the Symphony, and making sure that we come together as a community and celebrate the arts and celebrate each other. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all for coming. This concludes our forum. We thank the candidates for their willingness to participate and to serve our community by running for office. We again thank all that have been involved in organizing this forum, and we thank all of you, our audience, for joining us and wanting to be informed. We encourage you to continue to learn more about the candidates and to be a voter this November. Thank you.